At Graboid Bluffs, Fenton, Missouri, Chad Sabora shares his story that heroin recovery is possible.
My name is Chad Sabora.
Okay, Chad, so could you tell me your story about...
Sure, I'm a recovering heroin addict. Came from a good family. I was an attorney, Cook County prosecutor. I went through some personal trauma with losing my parents, and I got addicted to pain medication, which eventually led to heroin addiction, which took everything, which I didn't take. I chose to give everything in my life to that drug, and it took me down to a very bad place, which I was able, with the help of a lot of other people, to pull myself out of. And now part of the reason we're out here today is to help other heroin addicts and to help families that have lost somebody to heroin and to raise awareness in our community about what's going on in our city. The rallies out here are about 10% of what we do. We're out here just to get some public notice and to let people know that we're here for them. You know, a lot of the work is done during the week, non-stop by a few people. Some of the major things we're working on right now is we're trying to get a few different laws passed in Missouri. One of them is Valor's Law. That law is going to hold dealers responsible for drug-induced homicide. We're trying to get the 9/11 Samaritan Act passed in the state of Missouri. What that act does is that if you are with somebody and you are both using and that person overdoses, if you call the ambulance and they come to save that person, you will not catch a charge, a case, or anything. Right now they don't have that kind of law in Missouri, and that's why we're seeing all of these body dumps, because people are getting scared and they're running away from the scene. Another thing we're trying to bring attention to is the lack of options that heroin addicts have. You know, we suffer from a disease, we're sick people, there's nothing inherently wrong with us. We have a saying that we're not bad people trying to get good, we're sick people trying to get better. But we can't get better if we don't have a place to go. The funding for rehabs and detoxes is pretty much eliminated. Now what I do on my time is that addicts out there in recovery, in active addiction, that call me, they have no money, they have no insurance, their family has cut them off, they have nowhere to go. That's when I come in, because what I can do is we take them to various ERs and put them on a 72-hour suicide watch, but it gives them 3 days in a hospital, getting some medication, getting them over the dope sickness. Once they're a little bit strong enough to leave the hospital, and let me get something very clear here. 3 days is not enough time. You need a few weeks to kick heroin. But right now, to get 3 days is a blessing. And we're taking it, and we're getting these people into shelters after that, getting them into some kind of treatment and counseling, and getting them involved with other addicts in recovery. It's a lot of work that is being done pretty much 24/7, and all of this stuff is grassroots volunteer work.
Okay, can you tell me why we have so many overdoses?
Well, right now in St. Louis, and I know I have to speak from experience, and unfortunately I have almost 17 years of experience on and off of heroin. Major cities that I grew up in and I experimented with drugs in were Chicago and New York. In those areas, and I have to speak bluntly here, so I do apologize, you have gangs running the drug scene. Washington Park in New York, and then the west side and the south side of Chicago. Now they bring the drugs in, the heroin, and they use the sales of the drugs to fund their gang wars and turf wars. And they have not professionals, but well-known people cutting their drugs, putting it on the street, and it's almost to the point where it's a business for them. You don't see this high of a rate of overdoses in those cities because the cut and the distribution of the drugs is controlled up there by different gangs, such as the Gangster Disciples and the Four Corner Hustlers. Down here in St. Louis, we don't have that type of structure. What we have is, we have 500 different drug dealers getting the same drug from a few different people, and they are cutting it with whatever they think they can cut it with, which is creating what we refer to as dirty dope. People dying every day is not, I've heard people make comments like, oh, it must be really good heroin. No, good heroin, there's no such thing as good heroin, but clean heroin doesn't kill people at the rate that people are dying here in St. Louis. What is killing people is the byproducts of the cut that they're putting into the dope, such as fentanyl and benzodiazepines. When you put that many central nervous depressants in your body at one time, it tells your brain, shut everything down. And that's what is happening a lot here in St. Louis right now. And you also have kids, because of the explosion of generation prescription, that are getting hooked on Vicodin, hooked on Oxycontin, that are just basically to the point where they're dope sick and going through almost the same thing as heroin withdrawals before they ever even pick up heroin. and they go to it because another friend does it, and another friend does it, and they don't know what they're doing, and they're killing themselves with dirty dope and just not having any idea of what they're getting themselves into.
Can you tell me about your life before heroin?
Yeah, I was engaged, house, car, successful attorney, and all gone. I went from $1 million house within a year to living in a homeless shelter.
And your life after?
My life now is amazing. I've been clean for well over a year. I have a great job. I have great friends in recovery. I really couldn't ask for anything else right now.
What was your life like on heroin?
Heroin addiction is a living hell. Plain and simple. It's not an existence I'd wish to my worst enemy. Now what happens in the beginning is that a heroin addict has an allergy. We're allergic to opiates. So when we put an opiate into our system of any kind, pain pills, heroin, anything, our brain starts obsessing and it's hijacked by the drugs. And all that we can think of is getting our next fix. It takes a long time for that to go away. Now I can never put an opiate in my body again or my brain will go back into that same state. But the first few times you do heroin, maybe the first few weeks, you're getting total relief from any physical, spiritual, emotional pain you've ever been in, and it takes all that away. But the price you pay for that is not worth it. The price you pay is you lose your family. All your friends die. You eventually die. You become a person you never thought you would be. Your moral lines no longer exist, and you're living the existence of just somebody complete degradation and dereliction. Physically and spiritually, your life is hell.
And who did you lose?
The first time I did heroin was in Chicago in 1994 with a bunch of high school friends. I am the only one left alive of that group. I had since I've gotten clean and been involved in the community, there has been at least one person a day in St. Louis dying. A lot of these people I know. If I went through the list of the names, we would be here all day. Most recently, I had a good friend that was picked up on some felony warrants in Clayton. She was arrested Sunday. She was going through some dope sickness. Sunday night, she hung herself in Clayton County Jail. She passed away Wednesday after we took her off the ventilator.
But I've lost 26 people total between me and a friend of mine. We're all mutual friends with all 26 of them. And it just keeps happening. And they're getting younger and younger.
I lost my son Nick back in January.
I lost my best friend Valerie Butler here to the heroin epidemic about a year and a half ago, last February.
My son, Christopher Berger, Joe Berger.
Recently, a couple weeks ago, my friend in Ohio is Tiffany. She passed away from heroin